It is that time again. All of our extractors need to be reset. We're going to go pick up all the PI so that we can objectively look at the performance of each planet. But I'm going to tell you right now, the biomass performance, I hyped it up a lot in the last episode, and it did not disappoint. So we're going to go ahead and undock, and we're going to go and pick up everything. And then once we get everything kind of picked up, we're going to actually kind of walk through, and we're going to do some modifications. And if we have time, then we will set up that last planet in this video, and then we'll kind of just go from there. But first up is structures. So let's go out here and see how this did. I already know that precious metals is going to be very, very, very low. It's probably going to be our lowest performer, just based on the yield I saw coming off of the extraction, the density of the planet. But this video is going to also illustrate that low density on the agency screen doesn't necessarily translate into low density in real world numbers, which the biomass planet definitely kind of blew everything, all these other planets out of the water for the most part. But so far right here, as you can see, precious metals actually did about 35, and shell structures did about 38. That's, you know, very close to our projections based on our spreadsheet. Those are going to be lower than the other three by far. So precious metals is a little more valuable. But look at this. Look at this biofuel planet right here. 5,600. And the planet, the factories are still running. In fact, it has so much P0 still left in there, which is what, like 40 hours. Yeah, that's crazy. Like those 5 factories could literally run for another 40 hours with everything that was produced. Insane yield. We're up to 12 million right now. 2 planets to go. I think we're going to come in probably to the neighborhood. I already kind of looked at it a little bit before starting the recording. I think we're going to come in probably a little around 17 or so. And even still, here, look at this base metals. Base metals, those 5 factories are going to run as well for a few more hours still. We're going to be looking at the command center storage to make a decision on whether or not we need to cut the second extractor on some of these. And sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes having that ability to cut that second extractor, throw on a couple more factories just to kind of process a really good density pool is needed. Sometimes you got to do that. I think that the biomass planet is definitely going to have to get probably 7 factories. We're probably going to end up cutting that second extractor on there completely. We're going to see what the numbers look like on the day 2, if they're significantly lower. Because remember, that planet, the first day was 50 on one, 30 on the other. So if there's a drastic reduction, then it might warrant keeping it. But I think that just to catch up and process what P0 we have, we're probably just gonna have to like only activate the 10 header, and then maybe add a few factories. We could also just let the planet breathe if we wanted to. So now that we're docked, we picked everything up. 18.2. So that's 24 hours of, a little over 24 hours of passive generation. I haven't logged into this character to do anything but like the event login rewards since the last video. So there was no micromanagement. There's none of it. Like, that's completely 18 million just for having that stuff set up. Absolutely passive. So obviously, well, each one of these episodes, after we set up all these planets, each episode is going to be kind of going over the same thing. We're going to be looking at every day's yield. Then we're going to be looking at overall yield. Hopefully over the course of a month, we can get a very, very good real world idea about what you could potentially do. And I'm going to be really transparent about how much I'm tinkering with everything. Pretty much any adjustments I'm making to any of this stuff is going to be on camera. When I'm not recording a video, I'm not messing with this stuff. That's how I want to keep it. I want to make sure you guys are seeing how passive PI can really be. So shell structures, or ever how we pronounce it, structures and precious metals, they are going to be our two lowest right now. We're making them one because precious metals is one of the higher valued P1s, and also structures, precious metal, toxic metal, and reactive metal all go into mechanical parts, consumer electronics, and those eventually can go into robotics. If we ever do decide to put in a process planet, then we've kind of built up a stockpile in that stuff. But we'll save all that stuff for down the road. We're really just trying to build a really good inventory and everything. So real quick, I'm not going to do anything crazy. We're going to be just looking at, this is the 10 header. So yeah, it's pretty low. We're looking at about 10,000. And we're going to be verifying, we really want to do is verify the kind of planet a little bit and decide what we need to do. I think it's still decent. We could move over here, but I don't think it warrants it. I think we're going to be making so much ISK at the beginning here with biofuels. I'm just going to kind of let the planets kind of come through on this, because I really do want this series to be all about passive. I don't want us coming in here every day and moving this stuff. I want you guys to see over the course of a month, if we don't move anything, what you're looking at, right? And it just makes it easy. We can come in here, we hit start, go ahead and apply that. And then like we always do, we'll look, okay, it's still 10.7K. I think we'll be okay with that. And then this one is about to be 6, so we're looking at 16. It's about half of what we need to run this. What we could do is we could drop like one factory and add more heads, but I don't want to do that. I want to maintain our standard a little bit, with the exception of the biofuels planet, which is really, really overproducing. And we want to kind of process that so we don't run out of space. So this is the secondary head. So let's do the primary first. We're looking at about 11 on this one. I think it's going to be fine. We're probably going to set up the second planet for another precious metals on the other barren planet in this system. And then we got about 6,000 on this one. We're going to save biofuels for last because we don't know if we want to actually restart those extractors yet. So let's see. That's our secondary. So let's look at our primary here. 28. 28 is good. That's really close to what we need for the 30. Is 11. So yeah, we're gonna do fine on this one. This can stay in place. And even so, what's crazy about this is like that was still gonna, we were still gonna get enough hourly to support these 5 factories. And you see, it's back to that same thing. It's like really tight density in a small area. We probably have several days before this really gets too bad off. And then we'll down here with our toxic metals. Toxic metals, what has been doing really well too. It's got a lot of P0, but not nearly as much as biofuels. Geez. All right, 18K on this one, and then on our secondary is 6. Good enough. And those are my go-tos, like those 4. And if I'm in nullsec, I'm always doing like those 4 because they go into so many things. They're just kind of a really good thing to have around. But let's go ahead and kind of dissect this planet here. So you can see these would continue running for many hours. If we wanted to just like save and like kind of let the planet breathe, we could just hold off on doing these extractors here. But let's go ahead and do the scan. It's still roughly where we had it. Even if we bring it all the way to the halfway point on there, it's still got some white there. But just in case, let's kind of bring it down a little bit. Let's just kind of survey the whole planet a little bit. As you can see, there are 2 spots on this entire planet. So if this runs out, well, it's 3 spots. If this runs out, then, well, 4. This would be our second. This would be our tertiary. And then maybe by the time this one becomes like decent, one of the other ones is probably going to come back, right? But like those are like the 4 primary spots right there. So we're in a really good spot. This is probably going to be very, very decent for several more days. So let's go look at what our next cycle would end up being. This is just our secondary, and it's 23K on that one. So let's go ahead and look at this one. This would be 42. This one alone by itself would be enough to support the 5 factories. So we are going to go ahead and reset this one. But I think what I want to do is we're going to axe this. We're going to decom this one. And we're going to add more basics. Because what's funny is our highest producing planet right now is actually the highest valued commodity that we're producing. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7. We still have plenty of... We could probably do like 12, which is usually the max. You don't want to go too far out this way because there is a link limit. A link length limit. Ugh. So when you're adding more auxiliary planets, you kind of want to like keep them fairly close. And since these are pretty close, we can just kind of go in here like that. So that's 9. So with the density of, we might get 2 more. I think the density is too high, honestly, for all 12 here. But we're going to go for it. And what we're doing here is we're not going to keep all 12 going. But the going up to 12 means that we can just burn through that P0. Because right now we're automatically going to start stacking more on top of that. So we don't want to run out of space because we want this to be passive. We don't want to have to deal with this until 24 hours from now. So let's go ahead and get all these schematics installed here. And this will also be really interesting to kind of watch and see how far we're able to chew into that P0 between now and tomorrow. And then what will probably end up happening is tomorrow, when we've kind of cleaned up a lot of that residual P0, we can go back down to a smaller count for factories. So, real quick. And since we have a P0 in here, you don't have to actually go to the route page here, but it's just force of habit for me. And you can, when you start getting really practiced at PI, you can start setting up planets really quick. I can set up pretty much 6 planets. That includes a few 24 factory process planets in like 30 minutes, which is a lot of clicking, especially when you're doing the 24 factory process planets. That's a lot of like routes and stuff that you got to set up and everything. But there you go. So I need to bring up our spreadsheet here because I do want to kind of run the numbers. We're going to show, I want to be able to see exactly what each thing is doing on the outside. So probably not going to show it here. I'm just going to kind of like log it so we know. Actually, this hasn't even been updated or anything. So I need to like, we didn't even add biomass to it. So we just need to make that quick adjustment. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my video source real quick. So we can kind of bring this over here. Excuse me. Make it a habit of like really showing off the spreadsheet a little bit. It gives us the ability to kind of do some talking points on this stuff and everything. So we're still 5 on everything. So 4,800. So some of those are a little low. Let's kind of cross compare that with what's in our ship right now, because we still have that stuff kind of set up. So with those 5 factories, we should have been getting about 4,800 per, which we got over that for reactive metals. So that means that those factories actually overproduced. And then toxic metals also 5,700, like clockwork, because we started the extractors at the same time. We cleaned out everything at the same time. And we log back in to collect everything at the same time. So naturally, if those 5 factories were running the entire time we were gone, they should have the exact same amount. So reactive metal, toxic metal, those are good to go. Our precious metals, 3,500, and then structures, 3,800. So just to give us a little bit of an idea here, drop this down here to 4, and then 4, probably about 4. So on average, these 2 planets were running 4 of the 5 factories for the entire cycle, which isn't horrible. If we were doing much less, if they get to the point where they're producing like 960 per 24-hour cycle, that's when you might want to start entertaining the idea to move them to a different spot on the planet. But we try to alleviate that by selecting really high density areas and overproducing P0 that allows us to let the planet breathe a little bit in between cycles if we can do that. All right, so for biomass, we have 12 factories on there now. That requires 72K, and we could have actually set up 12 factories. So actually, no, because like the primary extractor yesterday was what 50K on the average. So I think we would have been able to do 8. Yeah, probably about 8 factories. So depending on how everything goes, we might go 12 now to burn down the P0. And then tomorrow we also have quite a bit of yield. We'll come down to 8. And then if it drops so significantly below that on day 3, then we can adjust back down to 5. This way we can just kind of keep that P0 processing and stuff. But right now we're going to be looking at getting around 11,520 units of biomass tomorrow with this, which will probably be more because now we've got the extractor running. It's going to be just stacking all that stuff on top of that P0 and all that stuff. So what I think I'm going to do is, I know, well, actually, no, let's go ahead and do it. I don't see why not. We're going to set up on the other barren planet, pretty much the only other decent planet left in this whole system. We're going to go ahead and get it running so that we have 6 planets to pick up tomorrow. And this 6th planet is also going to be kind of our flex planet. So when we want to try something new or whatever, then we can kind of clear it out and do what we got to do. We're not going to look at the scan yet. We're just going to go and plop that command center down and go back to dock. Because there's no reason to be in space while we're tinkering around with all this stuff. So go ahead and dock up. I usually wait till we dock up completely, session change. I need to close this agency because it can be a little laggy. So we can do precious metals, which is probably the plan. But there's also some other options here, biofuels. So what we can do is, if we want to like kind of like see if there's anything on this planet that might be close to how our biomass is doing, we can slide the slider roughly where we do to see white on the oceanic planet, and we can kind of cycle through all these and kind of see what's up. So obviously not microorganisms, carbon compounds probably, like look at the carbon compounds right here. Very, very dense. It's actually denser than our biomass there. Look at that. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So what I'm going to do is, where is my spreadsheet? We're going to be looking at what the value for that is. So carbon compounds create biofuels. So that's what we really want to be looking at as far as prices go. Yeah, biofuels is way, way down. Probably because it's really common. But the question now stands is like, you go up here and do precious metals for 850 and get much less, or you go for broke and just get like the insane volume for biofuels. I feel like since we're in kind of like the experimental stage in the beginning of this series, we know that if we're going to end up doing like consumer electronics and mechanical parts and stuff like that, then we're going to be using the same planet anyway for that. So what do you say for this iteration? We go with those biofuels and we just kind of see what kind of value we get from that. I would like to be over 20 million a day on this character, which, for being as passive as we're making it right now, is pretty chill. So yeah, pretty much answered my own question. I think biofuels, with the performance of biomass, yeah, why not? If you ever lose your command center, you can just hit the little like home button here and it'll center the screen up on it. So first things first, we want to upgrade that. And also, if you guys have any questions as far as priority of skill, I prioritize the command center upgrade skill over the actual skill that gives you the additional planet slots, because at least with, you know, command center 5, you can get the maximum amount of use out of each planet and then build on that when you go into different slots. All right, there's our little guy right there, and we're going to be we might actually just go ahead and just set this up for 8, but we're going to use our spreadsheet and we're going to figure out whatever our hour average shows. We're going to kind of just set up the factories to support it from the get-go. Doesn't really matter where we place this. We're just going to kind of place it sort of close so we don't have to move our screen around too much. And then we get our launch pad here. And then we'll go ahead and connect these guys up. Let's go ahead and see kind of what we'll be looking at here. The reason I'm not going to go into the secondary precious metals yet is because until we start needing those to be like an even number with everything else to make the P2, if we ever get to that point, it's not really a big deal. I think we'll make a lot more ISK even at a lower unit price with this than having another precious metal planet. So I like just throwing these 10 heads up and seeing what it gives me. 41 before even moving anything in. So we can kind of move these out of the way. That's our center. We know that because we've drilled it down as much as possible. And then we just kind of build our little, like, you know, pattern like we normally do all the way around it. 47. Yeah, I think we'll do about 50. So I think we're probably going to be around an 8 factory. 51. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the scan out a little bit more so I can make sure that these outliers are kind of in the most optimal spot. So based on this, I think this one should be down. So we're at 53.9. Let's see if I'm right. 54 right there. Yeah. More in the white. Nothing's overlapping. We'll hit submit there. We'll be good to go. Now we just need to route everything. Actually, we need to start the process. Getting ahead of myself. So, yeah, 54. We're going to just stick it to 8 factories. I think that'll be a good number. 1.2 million total P0 over the entire cycle. I'll take it. And then obviously we'll be able to see tomorrow what that translates into ISK. You can do the math. You know, you can take the unit value and then you can figure out all that stuff before you even like submit it, right? You can get an absolute exact idea, but it's more fun to do it the other way. Just wait for it. All right, basic factory. So we're gonna come out here a little bit, go 1, 2, 3. Should we do 8 or 7? You look at my spreadsheet. 7's nice because it like is this like complete little pattern here. 8 is just kind of a weird number. We're gonna connect these like that. Biofuels. So we're looking at about 67.20. We need about 42. We're at 54. 48. Yeah. Ooh, actually that's perfect. You know, we could do 9. That would give us about 2 million in value for that. You see how much crazier biomass is though? So yeah, we're going to go 2 more. Just so we have... I think this is going to be nice because we'll have no P0 technically left over. I'm going to link these directly just so we don't have to worry about anything crazy. Those are longer links, but we're not adding another extractor right now. At least I don't think we need to. We probably could. We can go in and put it in place. I don't think tomorrow we're going to be able to run all 9 of these, so I think we're going to go ahead and put this one in here. Even if we can't run all the heads for it, it's already kind of in place. That way we don't have to do a whole lot of decommissioning tomorrow. Yeah, see, we can't put any heads on it yet, but we're just putting it there for now. That way we can just come in here tomorrow. We can probably drop these 2 factories and then have this one start up with like 3 heads, and you know, we're easy in and out kind of a situation. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this set up. Get all these schematics installed. And like I said, 2 million, that's going to put us over the 20 million total for the character. Now you got to start looking at things at scale, because most PI is done at scale. Very rarely when people learn and get into PI are they just stopping at one character. At the very least, they're at least doing multiple characters on a single account. So, at least in my experience, because once you set it up, it's pretty easy to maintain. It's no more crazy than logging into an account and getting daily login rewards, right? Especially when you get really seasoned at it, you're able to just get in there and really quickly set up those extractors, or reset them at least. And I don't even necessarily go every day and pick everything up. Like every other day is perfectly fine as well. All right, there we go. Everything's good to go. So we'll this will show that, so because this one's not running, but we know it's running, right? So now all 6 planets are set up, and we did a pretty good amount, I would say, for the amount of effort. I mean, I logged into this character 0 times between the last video and this video, so 18.2 million. You can see how over the course of like a month of just kind of piddling and picking them up randomly, it adds up. That plus Project Discovery, I mean, that would be, if I did Project Discovery on this tune during that 24-hour period, I would have made 38 million for basically probably an hour to do Project Discovery, and this would have happened in the back end. And then let's say you went out and mined another 10 million real casually, you're over 50 million at that point for the day. Obviously you can do more than that, but you get what I'm saying. This is a great addition, and I hope that's what this series kind of illustrates. Is that PI, don't sleep on it. Like this PI is something, once you learn it, get past the learning curve, you'll be able to make you some decent ISK. So until next time.